Thank you, Chairman Davis. It is a joy to be with y'all this morning. My grandfather was a college professor. My mom taught second grade for many years, and they don't know what happened. I became a preacher. But education is near and dear to me. My Chairman Davis mentioned that I have a 6-year-old. She's in first grade. So I know that these past couple of years for educators, for staff that have been overseeing, y'all are overseeing so many different schools, and I can only imagine what kind of conversations that you've had to have to do that. I work with our daycare program at the church, and that's just one small little group. Y'all have your hands in so many different areas, and so I'm thankful for you and for your work, because these community colleges shape the communities that they're in. Wallace is the one that was the college where I grew up in Dothan, and so I know what an impact they have in the different areas that they're in. So thank you for your work. Well, let's open this time with a word of prayer. If y'all will bow your heads in prayer with me. God of all creation, I give thanks for this day and this group of people gathered here. I give thanks to you for our community colleges in Alabama and how they make higher education accessible to more people. I pray for the students that are a part of these institutions. I pray that the students learn information, but also more than that. Grant that the students might learn to develop or keep a curiosity about things, that they might be lifelong learners, discovering new things and leaving their communities better than how they found them. I pray for the teachers and staff and all who pour into the students. As they have adapted in an unusual couple of years, give them a renewal of mind, body, and spirit as it is needed. And I give thanks for this group of people gathered here today. Send your Holy Spirit to this gathering and bless them with your wisdom as they work. Give them ears to hear what is needed for the students and others that are part of the communities that they serve. All this we pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
And let's please stand for our pledge. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, Mrs. Finkelstein, will you please call roll?
Yes. Mr. Jeb Shell.
Present.
Mr. John Mitchell. Ms. Valerie Gray.
Present.
Mr. Matthew Woods.
Present.
Mr. Goodrich Rogers.
Present.
Mr. Milton Davis.
Present.
Mr. Levelyn Roan.
Present.
Mr. Blake McAnally.
Present.
Dr. Yvette Richardson.
Present.
Governor Kay Ivey. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next is the approval of our agenda. And our agenda was distributed in advance to our board members for their review. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of our agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rogers.
Second.
Second by Mr. Shell. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand or voice vote. Ms. Gray?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Any opposed? Motion approved. Agenda is approved. Next is the approval of our minutes for the January 12th meeting. And again, the minutes were distributed to our board members beforehand, and I would now like to entertain a motion for approval of our minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rogers.
Second.
Second by Mr. Shell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand and a voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Next on our agenda is public comments. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Okay, no public comment. All right, next on our agenda is academic and student affairs, adult education, facilities, fiscal information technology, and workforce development. The first item is item 7A1, and it is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize Jefferson State Community College to proceed with the construction of the CDL track project on the Chilton-Clanton campus. The scope of work for the project is the site work and installation of a 3/4 mile CDL training track. The track will include a turnaround area. Construction contracts will be executed no later than January 31st, 2022, or this authorization shall expire. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. McAnally. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand or voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is item 7A2 for various HVAC projects at Calhoun Community College. It is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize Calhoun Community College to proceed with the construction of the project named various HVAC projects. Calhoun Community College various HVAC projects covers multiple separate smaller projects located on the Decatur and Huntsville campus. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rogers,
Second.
second by Mr. Roan. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the various HVAC projects signify by raising your hand or voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is item 7A3, and this is for the softball field and baseball field artificial grass installation, Part 2, which is the purchase and installation of artificial grass for the Northwest Shoals Community College. It is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize Northwest Shoals Community College to proceed with the scope of construction for purchase and installation of the artificial grass Part 2. And as you recall, Part 1, the scope for the site preparation and subsurface work was approved at our last board meeting. I'd now like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rogers, second by Mr. Woods. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand or voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is item 7A4 for the upgrade of the security system for Shelton State Community College. It is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize Shelton State Community College for the purpose of updating, enhancing, and future-proofing its security system. All in favor of an upgrade to Shelton's securities, motion for those in favor of the upgrade of security system. I'd like to entertain now.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Woods.
Second.
Second by Mr. Roan. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand or voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next on our agenda is item 7A5, and it's for the upgrade of the security system for J.F. Drake State Community and Technical College. It is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize J.F. Drake State Community College and Technical College to expand its security system for the purpose of updating, enhancing, and future-proofing the system. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rogers.
Second.
Second by Mr. McAnally. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the upgrade of the security system, please signify by raising your hand or voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we move into Section 8, which is the Executive, Legal, and Public Information section. And the first item is item 8A1, and it is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize the Chancellor and his appropriate staff members to negotiate the terms and obtain professional legal liability insurance within certain prescribed parameters and report such to the board. It is further recommended that the Alabama Community College System authorize and direct each college and the Alabama Technology Network to purchase professional legal liability insurance under the policy recommended by the Chancellor for the coverage period March 1st, 2022 to March 1st, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shell. Second. Second by Mr. Roan. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand or voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is item 7A2, and it is recommended that the Alabama Community College System Board of Trustees authorize the president of Snead State Community College to confer a named gift in accordance with the Alabama Community College System Policy 519.01, naming of building and other college facilities by renaming the Snead State Administration Building to the Joe and Susan Story Administration Building, and naming the Snead State Library the Margaret Pritchett Story Library. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Woods.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion?
I'd like to commend Dr. Whitmore, President Whitmore, for his efforts, and it's quite an achievement. It's a great story, too, by the Story family. So,
Did you want to say something, Mr. Woods?
Just echoing his comments, it's a tremendous gift. I'm certainly thankful for it, for the college and to the president for helping this come to pass, and just looking forward to more good things in the future for this foundation, this college.
Again, I want to thank this Dr. Story and Ms. Susan Story, and I don't know if I can, I would love to just state something out of their letter that I think is really important. They are both graduates from Snead State Community College, and in their letter, I'll just grab one little snippet out of it. It says, "We also appreciate the role that the college played in Dr. Story's mother's ability to achieve her dream of being a teacher." So his mother attended Snead, and he went on to say, the fact that Susan's dad was able to attend Snead on the GI Bill and become a skilled craftsman. We've been tremendously blessed to have achieved professional and personal success, and Snead is part of our focus in giving back. So I commend and thank the Snead family for this tremendous gift, and again, showing their dedication to the community. And this time now, I would like to ask for a vote in approving this gift, this motion, and signify by raising your hand or voice vote. Very good.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Next on our agenda is the personnel report. No personnel report. Next on the agenda is the Chancellor's report. Chancellor.
I've asked Vicki if she would come forward. I'm going to just let Vicki start with this discussion, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Good morning, Board of Trustees, Chairman Davis, Chancellor Baker. Happy to be with you all today, and with those of you who are joining in online. I'd like to talk with you today a little bit about the ACCS and its efforts in STEM education. And I have some slides to share with you. And if we could go ahead and go to the next slide, because the next slide actually shows what STEM stands for. So what is STEM? It is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But the definition of STEM is widely debated. There's a lot of argument about really what STEM is. Some people say that it is just the collection of disciplines that make up science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In other words, those subjects. Other people say it's an approach to education that tries to cross over the different boundaries that we have sort of set up between the disciplines and integrate all of these skills, if you will, across the disciplines. And in fact, a lot of people who work in STEM outreach programs and things like that will say it is more of an interdisciplinary approach to education than it is the separate silos of those separate subjects. So, that brings up the question then, what kind of disciplines, what kind of subjects really are in STEM? So if we could go to the next slide, I'd like to show you one interpretation of this, okay? This is not necessarily the ACCS interpretation, but in science it could be things like biology, chemistry, physics, astronomy, even psychology can sometimes be considered in the STEM field since it is a science. In technology, definitely computer science and digital and multimedia things. Sometimes electronics can be considered to be STEM. Engineering, lots of fields in engineering. You'll notice the last one under engineering is construction. So there could be debate about whether construction is a STEM field or not. And under mathematics, you've got things like economics and finance, statistics, even things like accounting. So again, there are some things listed there that some people think are STEM and some people don't think are STEM. Okay, if we could go to the next slide. I pulled recently the data for our programs across ACCS, the completions in the spring of 2021, and looked at the top 50 programs. In other words, the top 50 programs that contributed the most to our completers that term. And about 59% of those completions were in fields that I would definitely sort of put into the bucket of non-STEM. Other than that, though, there are, of course, debate about which of our programs then belong in STEM. So we have things that are definitely STEM, like computer science and engineering technology. Those make up the 5% in gray in the pie chart. And then we have things that are STEM related, such as our electronics programs or our digital media programs or our industrial maintenance programs. You know, those students take a lot of technical courses. A lot of technology is involved in what they do. And then we have the whole arena of the health science fields. And I don't think anybody could argue that a nurse has to take a lot of science classes. You think about the biology, the anatomy, the physiology. When you think of all of the science classes that our allied health students take, I think most of us would probably agree that it's heavy science related, and so that might be considered STEM. So altogether, when you look at the health, the STEM, and the STEM related, we've got about 41% of our students who are doing something that's at least related to STEM. Okay, if we could go to the next slide. So what about that, that 59% that we said was not STEM related? Actually, some of that may be STEM, because most of that was our transfer students, our students who are going to go on to a four-year college and who have not really declared a major at one of our institutions that we can track as being STEM. Instead, they are classified in general studies or liberal studies, liberal arts, and they may actually go on to a four-year college and major in something there that is STEM related. But this is the Alabama Commission on Higher Education's report for those who were enrolled at public institutions in Alabama for fall of 20. And this was the new undergraduate transfer students and the top 5 majors for those undergraduate transfers. And by far, it was general studies, so I guess they still haven't made up their mind by then. Registered nursing, business administration, psychology, and then elementary education and teaching. And if we could go on to the next slide, you may be asking yourself, well, why are we worried about this anyway? Why do we care about STEM education? Well, we worry about STEM education because of jobs. And in Alabama, I'm sure all of you have driven by many places over the last couple of years that have had signs in their window and banners out on their front lawns that say, now hiring, sign-on bonuses. You see that everywhere you go. Unfortunately, a lot of those jobs are not in STEM fields. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Let's look exactly where the top in-demand jobs are. This is some data that I pulled from MZ Analyst at the end of January, and these are the occupations in Alabama organized by the most openings per year, and this is a 10-year predictive report. So it's based on history. It's not an exact science, of course, but it's based on historically where the jobs have been. And when you look at this, you will notice that none of these really are in STEM occupations. And there are only 2 that I have highlighted there that pay more than $35,000 a year. And that is the truck driving and the administrative assistants and secretaries. The rest of them, over half of them, pay less than $25,000 a year. That is very telling. These are jobs that definitely need to be filled. We need these people on the job. Our small businesses especially depend on these workers. And we are doing a lot throughout ACCS to help fill these jobs. You heard Mara Harrison present at the last board meeting on the work of the Innovation Center, which is doing great things in getting rapid training delivered to folks to take the most in-demand jobs across the state. But we also need to think about the higher paying jobs. So if we could look at the next slide. The next slide shows the top 15 jobs that require some college, but not more than a bachelor's degree, and they're organized by the average median annual earnings. And you'll see it starts at the top with $144,000, a little over $144,000 a year, and goes down to $110,000 a year at the bottom. So for all 15 of these jobs, these are paying more than $110,000 a year. 80% of these jobs are in STEM fields. A lot of them are in engineering, a lot of them are in computer science, some of them are in mathematics, some are in science in general. But 80% of these are definitely STEM jobs. So how are we preparing our students to take these jobs? So let's look at the next slide. We have a lot of work to do to get our students prepared for these jobs. According to the Alabama State Department of Education, for the 2021 cycle of testing for proficiency in math and science in K-12, we only had 22% of all of our students who tested as proficient in math. And 94% of the students did participate in the test. At the high school level, that was slightly better for math. It went to 23%, with 92% being tested. We fared better in science. So for all grades, 35% were deemed proficient in science, and 93% were tested, and 30% were deemed proficient in science at just the high school level, with 92% tested. The test was more difficult during that year. That was the first test that they gave that was based on the new standards of instruction. So it was more difficult. But it just shows how we all have got to work together to get our students up to where they need to be ready to be trained and to take jobs in STEM. So what are we doing in ACCS to help change this, to help turn this around? So if we could go to the next slide, please. First of all, last summer, Chancellor sent out a memo to all of our colleges announcing something really wonderful, and that is that we can now use dual enrollment scholarships for STEM-related coursework. So that opens up possibilities for students in high school to take math and science courses with a scholarship at our community colleges. They do not have to be associated with a career technical program, but we give priority to those that are. If we'll go to the next slide. We also have some new STEM initiatives related to faculty. This past year, we started a new faculty manufacturing externship that was sponsored by the Alabama Automobile Manufacturers Association, and ACCS, and we ran it as a pilot for the first time in fall. And what this did was this paired an instructor from an academic discipline in the STEM fields, in this case it happened to be mathematics, with a career technical education instructor, and placed them in a manufacturing company for about 6 weeks, I think, where they were immersed in what that company does. And they were required to do all sorts of things like keep a journal of their experiences, participate in online discussions, and they had to take what they learned at the end and integrate it into some way in their classes, and then deliver presentations based on their experiences to their peers. So we think that this has been very, very successful, and I was just talking to Barry May, who's our Executive Director of Workforce and Economic Development, before this presentation, and he said that they are actually going to be taking this program and sort of merging it with what the STEM Council is doing statewide to provide more opportunities to more faculty across the state. Let's go to the next slide, please. So one other thing that is kind of noteworthy is tomorrow, God willing, we will be submitting an application for a multi-million-dollar grant from the Economic Development Administration and the Good Jobs Challenge program. The purpose of this is to take a program that was started at Calhoun Community College called Systems Engineering Technology and modify and expand it across the state. And this is going to be a 3-year project. It will train approximately 1,010 students over a 2-year period, because the first year is sectoral partnership development and program design. And then, of course, it will grow after that. We've projected that over 5 years we'll probably train more than 3,000 students through this. But this will take people who go through what used to be a traditional computer information science program, and who would get an associate degree in computer information sciences, and will embed a short-term certificate in there for digital engineering technicians. And what these people do is they work side by side with engineers in a manufacturing environment, creating what we call a digital twin for a physical product. And it's complicated. I can't tell you all the details about it because I'm not up on digital engineering, but I can tell you that it is high-tech. It will save manufacturing companies a lot of money because they will be able to take the skills that they normally, the jobs that they would normally allocate to a full engineer who's paid a lot of money, to a 2-year graduate who will still be making good money, but not nearly what they have to pay an engineer. Okay, if we could go to the next slide. So ACCS also supports state STEM initiatives by having representation on the Alabama STEM Council. You'll see our Chancellor, Jimmy Baker, is a member of the council, and I usually serve as his designee for those meetings. The Wallace State Community College President, Dr. Vicki Karlowicz, is a member and serves on the executive committee. And our ACCS Vice Chancellor of Workforce and Economic Development and the Director of ATN, Keith Phillips, is also a member. And the STEM Council is doing wonderful things. In particular, they are going to be soon revealing a public dashboard that will take the data that I showed you earlier on science and mathematics proficiency of our K-12 students, and will turn it into a dashboard that people can look at and find their school system and see how their school system is performing either by themselves or compared to the state as an average. And it will be a very powerful tool, and if you'll go to the next slide, I'll kind of give you a glimpse of that. And I know that's pretty small, but what you see right now are the different pieces of the dashboard, and what I've got shown right now is the state average as a whole. But it shows the performance in terms of proficiency for math and science, and then it breaks it down by the various demographics for the economically disadvantaged, the limited English proficiency students, students with disabilities, minorities, white students, and it also gives you information. If you click on some of the tabs, it gives you information on how we define proficiency on that test, and key terms and the data sources. This is going to be a huge tool because what we've been able to see with this, we've been able to identify specific school systems that have high populations of students who are at risk and who yet are achieving at higher rates than the state average in terms of proficiency in math and science. And we'll be able to then go to those systems and have them share their best practices with us. And finally, if we go to the, skip over, if you will, to the next slide. Thank you. ACCS is investing in a new person who is going to be starting next week. Dr. Veronica Morin is coming on as our new Associate Director of STEM and Distance Education. And we are so excited to have her come on. I'd like to give you some information about her. She has a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Jacksonville State University, a Master of Science in Biology from Jacksonville State University, a Doctor of Education in Higher Education Administration. She currently serves as the Assistant Director of the STEM Outreach Program at Auburn University. She's been there for 3.5 years in that role. She also has 12 years of experience in community college instruction. She was with the Georgia Highlands College for 12 years as an associate professor of biology. While she was there, she earned the Lifetime Achievement in Advising Award, which is presented to the individual who has exhibited extraordinary service in providing academic advisement to students, and that's based on student feedback. She has been involved in numerous grants, including as co-author of grants, and is very familiar with learning management systems. She is Quality Matters certified, which means she has been through training for distance education. She checked every box that we had for this job announcement. And we are so pleased that she is coming on board with us next week. And we look for wonderful things to come in the future as we focus even more heavily on preparing students for careers in STEM education. And I would like to open it up for questions, if you have any questions right now.
I was going to say thank you for the presentation, and ironically, I was in Decatur last week and had a meeting at one of the chemical plants, and they had a need for someone with engineering technology, some education certification in that area, and Mrs. Price was able to connect me with the right person at Calhoun, and there were several candidates that could fit that bill. So, you know, we have the education in place, so we just need to continue to reach out and just educate, learn, help our workforce. And I want to thank you for this presentation.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other questions?
Is there any expectation, once we get into this program a few years down the road, where you'll be able to have similar metrics as the state school board has to grade ourselves, if you will, I know you're not going to have standardized testing, but
Right.
Look forward to something to
Yes.
be developed to gauge progress.
Yes, definitely. That is one of the charges of the new director of the associate director of STEM and distance education. Data analysis, reports, that is all part of that job description.
Very good.
She's going to fill a lot of roles when she comes in. Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Our next on our agenda, committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Okay, no committee reports. Okay. Our next meeting will be a work session following this meeting, and it starts at 10:20. We'll take a 5-minute break before we start it. And then our next Board of Trustees meeting is scheduled for March 9th in this room, 10 a.m. And now I'll ask for a motion, entertain a motion for adjournment. Motion from Ms. Woods.
Second.
Second by Mr. McAnally. Meeting adjourned. Take a brief 5-minute break if anyone needs it.
This is the good part. About what? About this business.
If I need to pull in Roger, I will, but I think we will. Good news. Now, hopefully, everything else goes.
It will. It will. It's just a matter of getting started. do, when I get out of this meeting, I'll include you on it. And we'll get Barry lined up to go down there, so we're here at Senate at both ends of the school.
I just did.
No, I think once we get that spatial utilization study, then you can sit down, look at the data, and figure out where do you come from. I'm expecting that you're probably going to have an opportunity to take a building. I think more in individual utilization is one of the things we push out of your comfort zone with is the size of the library is significantly reduced. Should be in. We are seeing libraries go down to the circulation and everything can reduce it down to less than what's been interesting is I've been traveling through the state and visiting libraries. They are only utilizing, they're only telling me that 1 to 2% of their books are checked out. It was really telling because I've got two almost back in the road. Yeah.
Everybody knows we can do. He's saying they now offered up. I got the piece of the land education. So, where are you, what you I was like, they're gonna do it. How are we gonna know that? Maybe we need to get them to the table before we see what you
Right now, ACCS is preparing a layout.
that includes that.
Yes, it shows how we can fit this building into the space. And we're gonna have a preliminary look at this.
Okay.
So if we come out of that review feeling confident, then we'll come out and go and say, I think this
Now
needs
it's
to
time
happen.
for me. Vacillation over they're gonna release it,
Yeah.
sell it. My belief is we need to own with a right of reversion. That's something we like to start our work session now. And I got to do that. So just let us know after.
Good morning to you all. The first item on the work session agenda is Jefferson State's request that the Board of Trustees authorize its president to name the planned Student Success Center on the first floor of the Lurleen Wallace Hall on the Jefferson campus for Regions Foundation. This naming opportunity will be in exchange for a gift from the Regions Foundation in the amount of $500,000. These funds will be used for equipping and staffing the facility. Does anyone have any questions relating to this item? The next item on the agenda is Bishop State's request that the Board of Trustees authorize the president of the college to name the computer lab in the Advanced Manufacturing Center as the Trustmark Computer Lab and to add appropriate signage. This naming opportunity will be in exchange for a gift from Trustmark National Bank in the amount of $15,000. These funds will be used for purchasing equipment for the facility. Does anyone have any questions regarding this item? The next item is a request from Chattahoochee Valley Community College that the Board of Trustees approve its current mission statement. Any questions relating to this item? The next item is the request of Lurleen B. Wallace Community College for the Board of Trustees to approve its current mission statement. Are there any questions relating to this item? The next item is the request of Snead State Community College for the Board of Trustees to approve its revised mission statement. Are there any questions relating to this item? The next two items are facility items.
Good morning, board members and Chancellor Baker. If we can pull up the slide, please, for Gadsden State. Board members, we have a recommendation here to do HVAC improvements at Gadsden and Enzer Hall. This building is located on the Gadsden campus, and this is a system that is a two-pipe system that is aged and is well beyond its design life. As we look at this system, it is intending to bid out this month so that we will have results back for us to take action and consider in the March board meeting. It's a project that will run approximately about 8 to 9 months to complete. The anticipated budget at this juncture with estimates that we've received are $4.6 million, and when we look at the design and other factors, the project is anticipated with a spend of $5.6 million. Funding is going to come from two sources. One is from CARES and HERF, and then the second source for the balance will come from local funds that the college has available to go towards this project. Board members, any questions or comments about this request? The next project that we have pertains to Wallace Community College. This is for drainage improvements on both the Dothan as well as the Eufaula Sparks campus. The project is designed to deal with drainage issues that are primarily tied to storm drainage. The project is looking to bid in February with results available for the board to consider as a recommendation next month. And the work will proceed, and the anticipated completion will be by the first of next quarter or of next year in 2023. Budget for this on recent estimates show construction roughly at about $1.6 million with an all-in total cost of approximately $1.9 million. This will be a funding project that will primarily come through the Aspire funds that we have available. Board members, any questions or comments regarding this request? Thank you, board members.
The next item on the work session agenda is the request from Jefferson State Community College to expend $739,444 for the purpose of upgrading the college's security camera systems on all 4 campuses. The college has recently upgraded the Jefferson campus at an estimated cost of $354,000. The additional upgrade will add extra coverage at the Jefferson campus and will allow for upgrades to the equipment on the Shelby, St. Clair, and Chilton campuses. The chosen security system is a cloud-based system that will combine AI-driven intelligent analytics with cloud bases, access and monitoring to allow officers the ability to view activity in near real time across multiple buildings. Intelligent analytics will allow the officers to more efficiently monitor the building through intelligent alerts. With these upgrades, the officers will not be required to leave their vehicle, but will be able to monitor activity from their patrol vehicles. Does anyone have any questions relating to this item? I should mention that the funding for this project will come from the American Rescue Plan funds, and that if any cost incurred before the end of the ARP grant will be paid from unrestricted college funds. Does anyone have any questions regarding this item? The final item on the work session agenda is Coastal Alabama's request that the Board of Trustees authorize the college to charge a $24 per credit hour fee for textbook rental to take effect in the fall 2022 semester. Coastal Alabama, in cooperation with its bookstore operator, Barnes & Noble, proposed to implement a new fee method known as First Day Complete, which will allow students to pay for their course materials in one inclusive fee at the time of registration. Students will be charged $24 per credit hour for textbooks, and the textbooks will be packaged as a rental for use during the semester. At the end of the semester, the textbooks will be returned in the manner received. The proposed plan can save students significant money and will allow students to have their books on the first day of class. Students will also have the opportunity to opt out of the program if it does not fit their needs in any given semester. This request is very similar to the textbook rental per credit hour fee the Board of Trustees approved for Enterprise State in October of 2021. Does anyone have any questions relating to this item? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryan. Board members, do you have any comments, any questions, anything? All right. Well, again, I want to thank the Jefferson State Community Leadership Team for being in attendance today. We really appreciate your attendance, and I hope there's some value in attending, and I wish you much success in the remainder of your day and training. Thank you. Our work session's now adjourned. Thanks.
Hi there, how you doing?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Doing well?
How are you? Everybody. There's five.
It is.
The location there. And up in that area. Appreciate you reaching out. Good to see you. Everybody. Must have been fun time. Okay. It's good too.
I'll try not to bother you, at least the rest of the evening.
So are they faculty members?
Some are support staff, some are faculty. So we try to have probably 20 applicants. We keep an eye on
English guy.
campus locations so that it's wildly successful. Everyone who's come through has got an opportunity to learn. It's probably going to reduce their office and their job, but they need to focus on that job.
That's what you said.
Take care. How
I
you
didn't
doing?
realize support staff was in it.
I think so.
I thought it was more like the deans and
Not getting sleep.
everybody, that's good. But I guess even with support staff, you could be moving up in